Real Madrid's 2025 season was a €1 billion disaster. Mbappe scored 40 goals, and they still hit rock bottom. The reason? A fatal flaw nobody is talking about. Miss this, and you'll never see their crisis coming next. Real Madrid collapsed. That is not an exaggeration. That is not a hot take. That is the cold, brutal truth about a season that offered a glimpse of glory only to slam shut the door with the kind of finality that leaves bruises. Real Madrid's 2024-2025 campaign was not just underwhelming, it was catastrophic by their own divine standards. A club that breathes silverware, that feeds on domination, that considers domestic triumphs a mere formality, now stands on the edge of a transformation that must happen, or face humiliation all over again. One UEFA Super Cup does not cut it. Not here. Not for Real Madrid Club de Football. Kylian Mbappe gave them everything. 40 goals in his debut season. A record that should have made headlines every week. Yet instead, the headlines were littered with first time since and worst result in decades. First time losing all Clásicos in a single season. First time falling to Liverpool since 2009. A humiliating defeat to a version of AC Milan so irrelevant they won't be in Europe next year. Even the greats of history fall, but when Real Madrid do, the thunder echoes louder. They fell to the GOAT. They fell to chaos. They fell to their own illusions. Carlo Ancelotti, beloved and trusted, could not stitch together a coherent unit. His laissez-faire approach to attacking structure, once the source of incredible improvisational brilliance, became a liability. He let players roam. He let them create. He let them solve. But when the answers stopped coming, there was no plan B. No reset button. No structure. Just chaos. The front line was a symphony of individuals playing in different keys. Mbappe ran riot. Jude Bellingham showed class. Vinicius Jr. sparkled in spurts. But collectively, they floundered. And that dissonance started from the back. Carlo Ancelotti leaves now, and the whispers around Xabi Alonso are not whispers anymore. Media narratives speak of Xabi Alonso demanding player exits, mandating breakfast regimens, mapping squad rebuilds with German efficiency. The truth? Conversations have been held. Tactical visions discussed. Recruitment demands weighed. Alonso is here, and with him, a warning: this cannot happen again. Because what happened last season was more than just a loss. It was structural decay. A footballing empire with chinks in its armor that opponents exploited ruthlessly. And the infection began in defense. Real Madrid's back line was ravaged, exposed, and stretched into unnatural shapes. Makeshift formations. Midfielders turned defenders. Square pegs, round holes. The neglect of this zone over the past years came back with vengeance. Injuries battered them. Tactical disarray consumed them. It wasn't just a leak. It was a flood. Dean Huijsen arrives as a gleaming hope. At 20 years old, the Dutch-born, Spain-raised defender already looks like the spine of the future. Intelligent, composed, and fearless with the ball at his feet. Shot-creating actions, progressive passes, interceptions. He ranks among Europe's elite in categories usually reserved for veterans. He isn't just a defender. He is a statement. Real Madrid don't just need warriors at the back. They need visionaries. Huijsen might just be that. And still, the job is far from done. The fullback crisis is an inferno Alonso will need to douse immediately. Ferland Mendy is no longer dependable, fragile, and uninspiring. Fran Garcia, despite flashes of competency, has not convinced. On the right, the fall-off without Dani Carvajal was catastrophic. Lucas Vazquez, often deployed out of necessity, looked like a man caught in the wrong story. Across the board, the flanks were weaknesses. That cannot continue. Enter Álvaro Carreras, once a Madrid youth product, now a blossoming talent at Benfica, with a €50 million release clause hanging over him like a warning bell. Benfica won't budge easily, but negotiations will happen. They always do. Carreras isn't a flashy choice. Not a crossing magician like Alejandro Grimaldo. Not a set-piece menace. But he offers something more vital: defensive steel. He shackled Lamine Yamal in high-stakes matches. He shut doors. He read danger. Real Madrid do not need artists at fullback anymore. They need soldiers. And on the other flank, the "here we go" is already echoing. Trent Alexander-Arnold, yes, his defensive lapses are notorious. But what he offers is the kind of playmaking Real Madrid desperately miss from the back. He is a quarterback in boots. Pinpoint balls, whip crosses, sudden switches. He brings vision from deep, and most crucially, he brings belief. With Carreras on one side and Alexander-Arnold on the other, Real Madrid might finally have the foundations of a new wall. Or, at the very least, the chance to stop using midfielders as spare parts. That alone transforms the engine room. Eduardo Camavinga, Aurelien Tchouameni, Federico Valverde. Freed from emergency defensive duties, they return to their natural habitats. Their influence multiplies. Their confidence returns. That ripple effect cannot be overstated. Last season's breakdown saw them yanked out of position, covering holes, chasing shadows. With a restored back line, they can dictate again. But there's a hole that even structure can't plug. Toni Kroos is gone. The German maestro has retired. One of the game's true orchestrators. He didn't just pass the ball, he bent the tempo of matches to his will. His control, his vision, his icy calm under pressure. It is irreplaceable. Dani Ceballos was a suggested heir, but never convinced consistently. Arda Güler flashed potential, but was often exiled to the fringes, thrown on the right wing, given scraps. If Xabi Alonso sees what many fans saw, Güler may yet evolve into a central figure, tucked inside where he can thread passes and dictate flow. There is also Angelo Stiller, a name not yet sung in Bernabeu, but whispered in Bundesliga circles. A deep-lying playmaker at Stuttgart, and allegedly admired by none other than Toni Kroos himself. He won't match Kroos for long ball perfection. No one will, but he offers verticality, risk, courage, qualities that Real Madrid's midfield lacked at times this past season. With Alonso's Bundesliga familiarity, Stiller could yet be drawn into this grand rebirth. And once more, there is Trent Alexander-Arnold. Not just a fullback now, but a possible inverted midfielder, a hybrid who launches attacks from zones no opponent expects. His ability to slide inward, deliver laser passes, unlock defenses. This is the kind of unpredictable weapon that Real Madrid has so desperately needed. He may not be Kroos, but he fills parts of the void Kroos left. Enough, perhaps, to allow the others to breathe. Then we arrive at the front. The stars. The brilliance that lit up nothing. Mbappe's goals. Vinicius Jr.'s dribbles. Jude Bellingham's surges. Rodrigo's touches. All flashes in a storm. The expectation was a whirlwind. The reality? A sputter. So what went wrong? Chemistry. Structure. Balance. The attack existed in fragments. They did not feed each other. They collided. Ancelotti's hands-off approach gave them too much freedom, too little guidance. That changes now. Speculation abounds that Xabi Alonso may deploy a front two, Mbappe and Vinicius Jr., supported by Jude Bellingham and Arda Güler in behind. That configuration may be the key. With structure, Real Madrid can unleash the chaos and control bursts. Let the wildness exist, but in parameters. Let Bellingham orchestrate. Let Güler weave. Let Mbappe destroy. Let Vinicius run riot. But let them do it together. That synergy was missing. It cannot be missing again. And that, above all, is the message of this season. The warning is loud. The expectation is carved in stone at the Santiago Bernabeu. Win or suffer. There are no soft rebuilds here. There is only silverware or shame. The season gone by was a disgrace by those standards. Not just because of the losses, but because of the helplessness, because the identity disappeared. The power that once terrified Europe was reduced to a scattered collection of stars with no constellation to bind them. That cannot continue. Not under Xabi Alonso, not with Kylian Mbappe, not with the ghosts of Alfredo Di Stefano, Cristiano Ronaldo, Iker Casillas, and all the rest staring down from history, demanding vengeance. Real Madrid does not exist to participate. It exists to conquer, to intimidate, to overwhelm. That essence was lost this season. Becoming one must find it again. Otherwise, this isn't a transition. It's the end of an era. And Real Madrid, for all their history, are not immune to decline. Not if they don't act. Not if they don't evolve. Not if they don't heed the thunderous warning that this failure has sent. Now you've seen the collapse stripped bare, the chaos, the failure, and the brutal reality facing Real Madrid. But can they rise again? Or is this the beginning of a slow, unstoppable decline? Will Xabi Alonso be the man to fix what's broken? Drop your answers in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more fearless breakdowns of football's biggest crises.